Bully students? Enjoy getting sued. Now this is not exclusively my own story, and I unfortunately wasn't part of the revenge. This is just what I've heard from others and my own experience. When I was 5 or 6, I had an awful teacher, hereon known as B for bitch, who would bully some of her students. This incident wasn't just isolated to me, but I'm going to share some of the worst stories that my classmates from then and myself have made public. When I was that age, I had a stutter. It's since been corrected. It was nothing you couldn't look past, though, even though it was noticeable. Nobody but B and my mother had an issue with it, and my mother because she genuinely cared that you could understand my speech. Now, B would make fun of my speech problem by repeating back to me what I had just said with an exaggerated stutter, telling me to speak normally and all that, on the regular. I knew I had one, but it felt awful to be made fun of for it at that age, especially by an authority figure. I was also pretty good in school back then, not that there was much to be good at. I'd finish the assignments well and ahead of time, and then not work on them while some other kids were. I talked a little bit to my desk neighbor, who was also a fast worker, and I would sit there. We had easy-to-learn books for kids, so sometimes I'd read Dr. Seuss and things like that. Turns out, even though I'd done the math or drawing or whatever right and had finished, B wanted me to only focus on that through the entire time everyone was working, even going so far as to call the principal in on one occasion and get angry at them when they disagreed with her. At one point, I was even sent to the principal's office to finish the printing assignment we'd been given that I had already finished, no less, over recess. Another kid who was quite smart was a bit of a know-it-all, but for good reason. He knew what I thought was absolutely everything at the time. He would sometimes help the person sitting next to him, who was a bit less gifted, and was called out by B for this sometimes. It was stupid, but honestly, it was probably expected. At one point, B had made a mistake or something, I forget what it was, and he called her out on it. B called him some long word which basically amounted to little bitch, and he began to cry. Another friend of mine had moved from a school in a different part of the city partway through the year. The transition was really tough on her, but she adjusted as well as she could. Of course, she had the misfortune of being in B's class, and when she failed a quiz on something or other, she may not even have been taught this at her old school, B called her stupid and ended up making her cry. These aren't all the things B did to everyone, just a few examples to set the norm. Now, years went on of this happening. I still don't like to hear B's name said, and am extremely self-conscious about both my speech and my intelligence, i.e. people won't like me because I'm too smart. This sounds stupid, but it's a legitimate fear of mine to talk about my grades with anyone, and the friend who switched schools is still worried about being dumb. She isn't. B still bullied her students, though, treating first graders like shit. One day